the comfort and firmness options to give you your best night's rest. Buying direct from our factory showrooms will save you up to 50% compared to national brands. Shop today during our New Year's sale at Ken Michaels Furniture for over 75 years of uncompromising quality, local factory direct saving, and your best night's sleep.
You know, James, we'll be running this place together for a while, and one day, hopefully, you and your kids will be doing the same.
That's the plan, Dad. And we're making changes so we stay ahead of the game.
Like the new Marty's Pizza Delafield.com?
We've made it extremely easy for both our young and older customers to make fast online orders.
It is really convenient, but if you like to call your orders in, a friendly Marty's Pizza employee will be there to answer with a smile.
Remember Marty's Pizza, right off of I-94 and Highway 83 in Delafield.
And at marty'spizzadelafield.com.
Dad, it's been almost 7 decades, and I think we just keep getting better.
And we've been in Delafield since 1982. We've been very fortunate.
At Marty's Pizza, we do our best to keep prices at a value.
And we stay true to our roots with the tastiest thin pepperoni we can find. 100% of real mozzarella cheese, our very own exclusive sausage, and an almost 70-year-old sauce recipe, both which Marty himself taught us how to make.
Dad, we got to keep on trucking.
We will, son. We will.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Now that the game is done, it's our time to check in.
Here's DiVincenzo for a good night. Knocks another one down. This one has been not the best. If you're a Bucks fan, that is.
Bucks Talk starts now.
Final seconds tick down, and the Bucks will put a close to one of the least memorable nights of the season.
And now, live from Fiserv Forum, here's Justin Garcia.
Well, this one may end up being memorable, but not for the right reasons, as the Minnesota Timberwolves come to town and dominate the Bucks tonight. 33 points win for the Timberwolves inside of Fiserv Forum, 139-106, a game that saw Minnesota lead by 31 at halftime, and a wire-to-wire victory for the Timberwolves. There were a few moments where we saw the Bucks start to chip away at that lead in the third quarter, but once this thing ballooned into double figures late in the first quarter, early second quarter, Minnesota just never looked back. You had Giannis finishing minus, 11 in the plus-minus? Giannis was minus 11. A.J. Green minus 8 in a game you lose by 33. The rest of the plus-minus numbers, I think, tell an accurate story. Minus 23 from Ryan Rollins, minus 19 from Bobby Portis, minus 37 from Kyle Kuzma, minus 30 from Gary Trent Jr., minus 19 from Gary Harris. And you look at Minnesota, Bones Highland, 23 points off the bench and a plus 41. Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Bones Highland, some of the more effective players on the floor in a game that featured Giannis. But as we've seen all too often this season, you can't get it done with just Giannis. He needs some help, and that help has been fleeting for the Bucks for most of this season. 855-616-1620 is the Siding Unlimited talk and text line to join us tonight on Bucks Talk as this team now drops back to 6 games below 500 at 17-23. And after you play that game in San Antonio on Thursday night, we will be at the midpoint in this season. So best case scenario for the Bucks is they're going to hit the halfway point at 18-23, putting you on pace for a 36-46 record. 855-616-1620 is that number to join us tonight. Let's waste no time. Head out to the phone lines and check in with our pal here, and I have a feeling I know overall how he's feeling. But let's head to Port Washington and hear from Dick. Dick, there's a number of ways to go with this one. I guess we'll take your overall assessment, but what does it say to you to lose the game Sunday in Denver to a Nuggets team playing without 4 starters and another key piece in Jonas Valanciunas, and to follow that up with this, losing to a team without Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards, and not only losing by 30 points.
Yeah, I think you can summarize it with one word: euthanasia. It's time. I mean, this team has a disconnect, and it was demonstrated greatly by Giannis when he made the bucket, went to the floor, and started putting thumbs down, telling the crowd to boo or not to boo or whatever. They should have been booed, and they were going off the court. There's no life in this team. This idea that, Giannis is playing well, and well, he's scoring a lot. I'm not so sure, and this will sound very strange, but I'm not so sure he's making the team better by what he's doing. He's not making anybody else any better. And there's talk about getting Ja Morant here. Yeah, that'd be just what we need. You have to give up 2 players and the first-round pick. It's time to cut bait. Now's the time to trade him. I think the reason he came out and talked to the guy from the Atlantic, was that the guy?
The Athletic.
Talking before he went on the bus and stuff?
Yeah,
Athletic.
the Athletic.
That was close. Yeah. The Athletic. He's talking this up, that he wants to stay in everything. I think he's realizing that other teams are seeing him as not as a savior, as maybe a guy that'll come in and maybe disrupt stuff, because he's good when he's got the ball in his hands, but I'm not so sure he makes anybody else better. It's time to trade him now. He's going to get injured as he gets older. It's crazy to even talk about saving this season. Saving the season for what? To lose in the play-in tournament?
Well, okay, so
round?
What is your definition of saving? I think is where you would have to start, right? Because what you just said there is, I think, the reality. We can keep saying it's still early. At some point, it's not early anymore. Like, yes, you have more games.
It's half the season. Yeah.
The number of games remaining is larger than the number of games you have played. But once we get through Thursday, that number's going to be even. So it's not necessarily early anymore. And at some point, the die is cast, right? Like, even if you go on a hot streak, which for this team and what we've seen this season, a hot streak is winning 3 straight games. Like, even if you do that,
right.
I don't, barring this team just, going nuclear and playing like the Indiana Pacers did, but you're already behind the curve on that a season ago. I don't see them climbing past, if we're being generous, 8th in the Eastern Conference. So what is saving the season in that sense?
The saving the season is saying it's time to change the guard here. Giannis is talking about maybe staying, et cetera, et cetera. I think he's realizing, like I just said, that other teams are seeing him. Maybe they're not going to give the Bucks what they want or whatever. He's still eligible for the max. If you'd be another team besides the Bucks, and you have a core that you might win with, you'd be nuts to give him the max. He's older. He's getting injury prone. I just don't see it. You get what you can now. Do not give up the pick we have now. Do not give up young guys. Not all, the internet's full of crap with a lot of stuff, but this one scenario I've seen, you're going to trade Rollins, Portis, and I forget somebody else to get Ja Morant here. Yeah, okay. He is eligible for another suspension pretty quick. He's not solid. His 3-point shooting is way down this year. He's a disruptor, and he needs the ball in his hand. He needs the ball in his hand to be what John was several years ago. And we got a guy that's got the ball in his hands. He's not making anybody better.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not this year. It's through his entire career. He has not been a good 3-point shooter. It's 20% this year. That, to me, is – look, he is a distressed asset. And – you look at the Trae Young trade, there was no draft capital there. I'm not saying I think the Bucks are going to trade for Ja Morant. I'm not saying I think they should. But I think that's the appeal, is knowing what he at one point was and saying we're not giving up a first-round pick, because I think that Trae Young trade basically signals to other teams, yeah, you draw the line and say we're not trading draft capital for any of these names, for Ja Morant, for Zach LaVine, right? Because we're doing you just as much of a solid and taking that contract off your hands. And the Bucks, as you noted, and everybody's aware at this point, they don't have anything in terms of immediate draft capital to trade. You'd be looking at 2031. There is absolutely no scenario of any player becoming available, or not only that, a player that becomes available where you have enough assets beyond a 2031 first-round pick to put that into the center of the table and acquire. That's going to do enough for you this season.
Right. And another point that I forget, I don't know who I was talking to about this, is, well, you know, in the off season, we'll be able to get some people in here to support Giannis. Who is going to come here with Giannis in this state?
Well,
if he doesn't go this year, he's going to go next year. He's going to get injured. You're going to come here. You know, it's time. You got to start over.
Here's the deal, though.
Go ahead.
You need two to tango. And I'm not saying there is no market for Giannis, but I do wonder what the trade market in general for those types of contracts is going to be go forward, because we are now a couple of years into the CBA, and you have seen just how harsh some of those aprons and the restrictions are, and you have seen other teams start to build teams with young talent and draft picks, and the old football adage of draft and develop. Like, you've seen other teams find success doing that, and more so, you've seen teams that have been built the other way have to dismantle those teams after a couple of years. So if you're going to make a trade for not just Giannis, for any player that's at that level in that contract, you had better be sure you are going to be a Final Four team that upcoming season, because the reality is your window is 2 years, maybe 3, before the restrictions are just too much, and then you have to start to tear apart your roster. So I don't think that means there's no market, but I think that means that limits what you get back for him in a trade, if it does come to that. But the point of adding guys, I think that's more so through a trade market, because they could technically use 3 first-round picks on draft night this summer.
Sure. Okay, and another thing I think that really hurt Giannis's value is when the Knicks owner said, you know what, I don't know any of this, that we were close last summer to getting him. And,
but
so all this came up and says, okay, well other teams saying, well, if the Knicks get him, blah, blah, blah. That was shot down. Value fell. That's what you're going to buy a house. And when you bought it, you think, oh, the guy's going to put a golf course behind us. No, they're going to put a data center behind you. I mean, the value falls quickly.
I mean,
I'm pretty pertinent. I mean, I'm current at least. Right?
You've got some good analogies working tonight, Dick. What I'll say is that, number one, it's ridiculous that James Dolan doesn't get fined for tampering at all with those comments, and the Bucks were fined for saying themselves years ago they were going to re-sign Giannis. But also, look, it's fine, and it's all well and good for James Dolan to say now, no, we're not going to trade for him or anybody else. We have the group that we have together. We like that group and to think we can win. What happens when the Knicks lose in the second round of the playoffs this spring? Like, that tune changes. The problem with New York, though, is there's just no assets. Right? There's no long-term assets to help you out. They wasted and they pillaged all of those in the deal that brought in Karl-Anthony Towns and even more so in the Mikal Bridges trade. So that more than James Dolan saying, now we're good. Yeah. I mean, that more than James Dolan. Yeah, but that more than James Dolan saying that is they're a first apron team right now, so it makes a trade in season basically impossible. But you add Giannis to the mix, you're going to become a second apron team.
Yeah. I just think it's time. I mean, I think Giannis, I mean, my son and I think he's the greatest athlete we've ever had in Wisconsin. But he's not the Giannis of old. My wife used to just praise Giannis all the time, but you see some of the attitudinal things now and how he's reacting on the court and stuff, and it's just not the same. Money changes us. That's why I'm glad I don't have a lot, because I'm the same guy I've always been.
Well, I mean, money, time.
Have a good night.
You as well, Dick. Thanks for the call.
Right.
I mean, it's time, too, more than anything, when you look at this group that's here right now, that Giannis grew accustomed to playing with. All those guys are gone, right? Bobby Portis and Thanasis are the two that he's still got here. Otherwise, everything has changed, and it's that culture and the chemistry and everything else. It's gone now. It's going to a new job and having to learn new coworkers, and you're the old guy there. Is basically what he's been dealing with so far this season. All right, Dick, thanks for the call. Good to catch up with you as always. 855-616-1620. The Siding Unlimited talk and text line to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. No way to sugarcoat it. A very, very tough night at the office, a 33-point loss in a game they trailed by 31 at halftime. And this is now 2 straight games that you caught an opponent that was severely shorthanded in the case of the Denver Nuggets, but down 2 huge pieces in the form of tonight's opponent, the Minnesota Timberwolves. A couple of more calls on hold. We will get to you and your thoughts on this one, and I'm sure thoughts on what's going to unfold here, or what should unfold in the next 3 weeks leading up to the trade deadline. We'll continue to get to those after this on Bucks Talk.
This is Bucks Talk.
Who doesn't need a seasonal wardrobe update? But who has the cash to always keep their wardrobe updated? Ladies, that's why you shop St. Vincent de Paul. Our women's clothing is always a highlight of our stores, and thrift store prices keep the costs low. It allows you to experiment and also find a hidden gem. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
No matter how many people are in your family, buying new jackets for the cold weather months can be expensive. But when you shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, prices on cold weather jackets will give you a sigh of relief, because thrift store prices mean great deals. And right now we have a great selection. Find great deals on cold weather jackets for the family at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
If you've ever worried about your heart, if you've ever loved someone with heart disease, if you've ever wondered if you're the one at risk, let's remind ourselves that we are not powerless. Because at the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network, we're pushing to outsmart heart and vascular disease by working with you personally to understand your history, assess your risks, and guide you to heart strength. By digging deep with tireless research and offering access to leading-edge clinical trials. And for the most serious conditions, including heart failure, heart valve disease, arrhythmias, and vascular diseases, we provide renowned expertise and the most advanced life-saving procedures you expect from academic medicine. So let's get out in front of heart disease. Let's outsmart it. Let's keep pushing so that every one of us can outrun it and embrace every beautiful day life in Wisconsin has to offer. To learn more about our nationally renowned heart and vascular care, visit froedtert.com/heart.
The 6th annual Hales Corners Hometown Boat Show is on now at MW Marine. Check out the newest fishing boats from Lund, Vexus, and Ranger, all powered by Mercury Outboards. Grab a gorgeous 2026 model or save big on remaining 2025 Mercury-powered boats with substantial rebates. Demand is high, so get to MW Marine today. Free parking and free admission. Don't miss the Hometown Boat Show at MW Marine, MWMarine.com.
Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
Minnesota Timberwolves come to Fiserv Forum and take care of the Bucks. 139-106. 33-point win for Minnesota, who again was playing without Anthony Edwards and without Rudy Gobert. We saw the injury report yesterday with Rudy Gobert out by way of suspension for picking up his 6th point in flagrant fouls. But this morning, when it was updated, we saw Anthony Edwards was out. And ordinarily, I think you would feel really good about it. Overall, you probably still felt good and thought, there's no way. Like going back to Sunday probably changed it for a lot of us. But you still felt like there's no way they're possibly going to lose back-to-back games with those types of players off the floor. And not only did they lose this one, they were thoroughly dominated, and Minnesota controlled this game from start to finish. 855-616-1620, the Siding Unlimited talk and text line to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. Let's head back to the phones and talk with Mitch in Milwaukee. You're up next.
Hey, Justin, how's it going? Long-time listener, first-time caller. Wish it was under better circumstances than tonight. The last 2 days have been pretty brutal. I mean, losing to the Nuggets team that has 5 of their best 6 players out, and then losing to a T-Puffs team that has 2 of their best players out. I don't know if there's any further indictment on coaching that you need other than these 2 games where you have clearly a better roster going into the game. And also, too, Doc's comments at the end of the day really rubbed me the wrong way. Post-game, when he's acting like we lost a close game, dead legs. We had an extra day off compared to the Timberwolves, and we were playing at home. And we lost by almost 40 points to the Timberwolves at home without 2 of their best players. I think that is the biggest indictment on coaching, and I'm a Marquette guy. I like Doc, but, there's got to be some sort of change when you got clearly the better roster for 2 games in a row and you lose those. And I also, too, just want to say, 3 weeks ago, if you told me trading about KPJ or Ryan Rollins was on the table, I would say no. But now I am completely open to a Ja Morant trade. Shake things up. I don't know. I do not feel nearly as confident in KPJ or Ryan Rollins based off of the way they've been playing. They've been not showing up for well over 2 weeks now, and it's cost us in some pretty meaningful games that I think that on paper we should have won, and we can't be losing those games on paper. Love to hear your thoughts on the above there, but like I said, I really appreciate it, Justin.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Mitch. So we'll start with the Ja Morant rumors that have been out there. And again, the rumors are that the Bucks are kicking the tires and essentially doing their due diligence. I would be stunned if any team that trades for Ja Morant would include any draft capital in that deal. I've seen some people say if this is, look at what the Bucks offer could be, for example, and if this is the best that you can get, why wouldn't you, Jay? We'll just send him home and we'll just wait it out and see if there's something better there. Because there's probably not going to be anything better there. I think there's still 2 more years on that contract, and it goes back to what we talked about before when Dick called in that Ja Morant, Zach LaVine, all of these distressed assets that are out there on the market now, there isn't as much of an appetite. And, yes, it's going to take a desperate team to say, screw it, we'll give you a first-round pick. We just need something to fix this. I still don't know who that team is, and I don't think that team is the Bucks that says, okay, whatever it takes to get it done, we'll do it. Because there are some obvious challenges, right? I mean, not only it would be a 3-for-1 trade, basically, to make it work with what Ja Morant's salary is. But Ja Morant is a ball-dominant point guard. That is not a great shooter. That is not a good shooter. He is very good, great, at getting into the paint and finishing at the rim. But you currently have your best player as a ball-dominant player who is not a good shooter, who is great at getting into the paint and finishing at the rim. So what is the fit there, I think, is the biggest question that everyone has. There's no denying there's still a lot of talent in Ja Morant. And, even go back, at this point, it's 3 years ago. But think about the bright future we saw there in Ja Morant as the best player of this Memphis Grizzlies team that was on the rise and we thought was going to become one of the better teams in the Western Conference for a multitude of reasons. It hasn't transpired. it is dissipated through these past few years. There is going to be a team that says, you know what, fine, we'll take him. We think we can make it work here, and we think he'll make us better. I just, no matter how much you got to squint to find it, I just struggle to see the Bucks as that team. It would have to be a creative deal that I think would have multiple players on both rosters coming and going, and that's quite frankly the only way that you would attach a first-round pick in a deal for John Morant, because you're taking on a lot of money with 2 years left. So if there's other players from Memphis coming over, that's where that first-round pick discussion comes into play. But for John Morant, straight up, I just don't see it. And, you know, it's a Bucks roster that is probably going to continue to go through some changes in the offseason. When you think about all the players that signed 1+1s a season ago and are going to become free agents, you have to make decisions on those players. Taurean Prince has a multi-year contract, right? Gary Harris has the same thing. So those are two guys, albeit minimums, that are on the roster for next season. You got Miles Turner, but it's easy to look at the cap sheet for the Bucks and say, okay, this is what they're paying. You have to remember there's an additional $22.5 million that goes to Damian Lillard. So I do think we're going to see some trades here. I don't know if it's in season for this group or if it's in the offseason. When you can trade a 2031 first-round pick, you can do a swap on your 2032 first-round pick, and on draft night, you can trade your 2026 first-round pick. It has to be on draft night because you're essentially making that selection and trading the player to that team. But the other part of the discussion is, as we continue to get deeper and deeper in the season, again, after Thursday, we're halfway through the season. You can't keep going back to it's early. You got a lot of season left because that road starts to shorten, and you're starting to come up to the end of your destination, and we're going to get into March and say, well, there's still time. And it's a team that's still fighting to get to 500. The longer this goes on, the more I think you're starting to get your answer. And what do you do going into this offseason? How do you play for the offseason? They have an interesting situation here in the summer with future assets. We just mentioned what they can do with potentially trading 3 first-round picks. But the big thing is what New Orleans is doing now. Because there was a lot of talk about gap year in the offseason. And we got a few more calls we'll get to here momentarily. But there was a lot of talk about gap years in the offseason. The Pacers came up. The Boston Celtics, who are fighting for the second-best record in the East, they came up. The Bucks came up. Like, all teams that had a player that suffered an Achilles injury, where you looked at it and you said, okay, no Tyrese Halliburton, no Jason Tatum, no Damian Lillard on an older Bucks team. Like, this could be a gap year. What are they going to do here? Are they going to punt on the season and say, okay, we got 1 year with Dame left after that. This is where we go with Damian Lillard and Giannis, and maybe we can acquire a draft pick or something along the way this season. But you couldn't fully lean into a quote-unquote gap year if you were the Bucks because you didn't control your 2026 first-round pick. It's part of a pick swap. And you owe the 2027 first-round pick to the New Orleans Pelicans. Then you're finally done with that Drew Holiday trade. That's the good news. The bad news is then the Damian Lillard trade kicks in, where then you have those same picks owed and swaps out to the Portland Trail Blazers up until 2031. But you couldn't just say this is a gap year, we're going to be bad, and that's how we'll reset things is we'll get a good draft pick, maybe we'll make some other moves to bring in some assets, and we're playing for the season afterwards. The reason you couldn't do that was because there was a lot of belief that New Orleans was at least going to be respectable this season. You know, you look at the moves they made on draft night, we criticized them at the time. It was still a massive price to pay to move up in the draft. But everything they were doing, and how many times do we hear Zion Williamson's back in shape? They brought in more veteran players, right? This is a team that wants to compete for a play-in spot. So that was the fear. Fast forward to now, to mid-January, New Orleans is 9-33 on the season, which is the second worst record in all of the NBA. Only the Indiana Pacers right now are worse. So it hasn't gone as planned for New Orleans. And there is a pick swap component. New Orleans doesn't benefit from it at all. They traded away those rights on draft night to bring in Derek Queen over the summer. It's Atlanta that does. So the Bucks and Hawks are the two teams that are going to get those two picks. But the Hawks get the better of the picks between what would be the New Orleans pick and the Bucks pick. So now, because of how poorly New Orleans has been playing this season, the door is opened for you to have a really good draft pick potentially if you do not get to 500, if you do not get to the 10 seed or 9 seed and make the play-in tournament and from there make the playoffs. There's a chance that the Bucks and Pelicans could both be picking in the top 5 this summer. And, you know, I've mentioned this quite a bit already this season, but at some point, we're in mid-January, at some point in the month of January, it will become a louder discussion within those walls of, realistically, what is our best route here? Is it to make a trade even if it's not giving up assets and we're bringing in a guy that maybe he helps us marginally and we finish the season 39-43, 40-42, right? Maybe we catch fire in the final 41 games. We go, 26-15, and we finish, just slightly above 500. Maybe, right? Maybe, but maybe you don't. And maybe you say, okay, this draft continues to be hyped quite a bit. There is a lot of talent at the top. And the difficulty is you don't know how the ping pong balls are going to fall, and you could slide all the way back. 4 teams could pass you. You could jump up. You could jump up, and New Orleans couldn't. And then all of a sudden, you're picking to the top 2, and Atlanta gets that, and you get wherever New Orleans lands. But we're moving closer and closer to the reality that, hey, the Bucks could have a really good draft pick, and look at some of these teams that along the way have infused that type of young, cheap talent into their group. Like, gone are the days where you say, well, that guy's not going to help you win immediately. We see more and more and more of that every single year. I mean, look no further than Philly, who was basically in the exact same spot the Bucks were a season ago and made the decision at some point late January to say, okay, we're playing for a draft pick. Part of that was they were a top 6 protected pick that they would have owed to the Oklahoma City Thunder, so they had to kind of pull the plug. But they made that decision in late January, and it led to them getting VJ Edgecombe, who has helped them immensely. Like, you see more and more of that through the years, and at some point there has to be a drop-dead date in mind of, if we don't got it figured out by this point, we've already assessed what's out there in the market, what we can realistically do. I don't know that this player is going to help us get to our ultimate goal, and it may actually be a deterrent for that player to help us get to the 9 seed. And maybe even get the 8 seed by way of the play-in tournament and not be in the lottery and not have a chance to move up in the draft and get real blue-chip talent into this group for what may be a last hurrah with Giannis, right? At some point, that chatter is going to get louder, not only from everybody that's listening here and everybody that's making those cases, but within the building at Fiserv Forum and at the Bucks offices as well. 855-616-1620. The Siding Unlimited talk and text line to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. A few more calls to get to here. Very disappointing stretch here with the loss of the Denver Nuggets, and then especially tonight. Now 9-10 at home after a 33-point loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. More after this on Bucks Talk.
You're listening to Bucks Talk.
Anybody out there like political ads? I already know your answer, and it's because a lot of them are bad. Phony dialogue with the sound effects of a diner in the background, dramatic voiceovers with scary music that changes into happy, hopeful music when the candidate being pushed is described. Whatever happened to an honest pitch from a candidate that doesn't sound like they're reading, but rather expressing their genuine passion to bring about change? Use us and we'll drive that home, and voters will believe you. Anderson-Smith.com. We will help you win in the next election.
Making a big advertising budget work? To us, that's easy. We feel that our ability to make small advertising budgets work in a big way truly demonstrates we really do know what we're doing. And that's why we should talk. We'll take your advertising budget, put it to work, and if history tells us anything, it will be the best investment in your business that you've ever made. Go to anderson-smith.com, email me, and I'll call you in short order. Because small or big budget, we help advertisers get better results.
Since 1956, the Adair name has stood for craftsmanship, honesty, and taking care of people the right way. I'm Austin Adair.
And I'm Chelsea.
My grandparents started this company with nothing but hard work and pride in every single job. My parents carried that legacy forward, and today, my wife and I are proud to continue it as third generation of Adair Floors and Remodeling. This isn't just a business to us. It is our family name, our reputation, and our promise to you. At Adair Floors and Remodeling, we help homeowners upgrade with confidence. Whether you need luxury vinyl plank, hardwood, carpet, tile, or a full remodel, our team handles everything from design to installation, quality products, professional crews, clear communication, and results you'll love. That's what 3 generations have built and what we stand behind every single day. Visit Adair Floors and Remodeling today at our large showroom located in Franklin, or give us a call at 414-761-3660 for a free estimate. Adair Floors and Remodeling. 3 generations, 1 standard.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer, providing equal employment, development, and advancement opportunities to all teammates and applicants. To learn more about careers with us, please send an email to talentacquisition@goodkarmabrands.com. That's talentacquisition@goodkarmabrands.com.
The Round Ball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
$139-106, our final tonight inside of Fiserv Forum. All Minnesota Timberwolves dominate this game from start to finish and send the Bucks now to 17-23 on the season. Again, Minnesota wins this game without Anthony Edwards and without Rudy Gobert. Not wins, dominates this game without that duo on the floor tonight. 855-616-1620, the Siding Unlimited talk and text line to join us on Bucks Talk. Before we do get to Bob, one last thing there that I don't think we addressed from Mitch in Milwaukee earlier, the comments from Doc Rivers after the game. I will say I had a similar thought. It was, I thought, interesting to hear Doc Rivers, I don't know if I would say fully chalk this one up to, but basically file this one away as a schedule loss. It is challenging, right, to go to and come back from Denver. No one is disputing that. It was 9 days on the road, 4 games that you played away from home. You continue to be away from home basically all of January. All of that is true. The Bucks are not the only team in the league that deals with stretches like this or has a stretch like this. You had a day off in between games. You got home at, I believe, 2:30 Sunday evening, Monday morning. But you were home Monday. You were home Tuesday morning, this morning. This wasn't flying back from Denver, last night and playing today. Minnesota, they came from Minnesota. Minnesota had the same rest as you did. Minnesota's playing without 2 big pieces as well. So that part I would push back on a little bit there, that this was, we had dead legs because of travel. Was a lot of the message that we got tonight after the game. 855-616-1620. The Siding Unlimited talk and text line. Let's head back to the phone lines and talk with Bob in Menasha. You're up next.
Yeah, thanks. Your last 2 or 3 minutes hit it right on the head. I don't care who they would pick up for the rest of the year. It's not going to make any difference. They're going to finish that 9th or 10th, 8th spot, but it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Just ride the season out, and they're not getting any better, but they're just keep getting worse. What always bothered me, once they lost that chemistry they had a few years ago, it never came back. The Lillard trade, you knew it probably might come back a little bit, but it certainly didn't. And with these guys they have, there's not real chemistry there. And we know that they other than the big guys scoring, they just don't have a powered offense that can do anything. I know once early in the season you talked about the fact that you don't need that second big scorer in the NBA, but I disagree with that. I think you do. You do have to have that scorer, second big scorer who can give you those at least 20, 25 points a game. A lot of teams have that. I realize the offense is low-powered, but I would still think they'd be able to play some decent defense, wouldn't you? I mean, they're off the dribble. They're terrible. They don't protect the three-point line. I think that's part of coaching. I wonder what they do in their practice sessions. We know practicing against their second team can't be very, very productive, but it's just it's a mess. I look at the Pistons. What was that, 3 years ago? Was it 4 years ago? They won 5 or 6 games, and they had Cunningham. That's about all they had, and they had some nice draft picks. They picked up some guys off the scrap heap, and look where they are. I think they've only lost 10 games. That's amazing what they've done. So, let the season ride out. Don't pick up anybody in a draft pick right now or a trade pick. It's not going to make any difference. Like you said, just see what happens, and the season ends, and maybe things will get better with the big guy. I think give him one more year. Thanks so much for your post-game shows, okay? Take care.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Bob. It was 2 years ago the Pistons won 14 games, and they went all of November and nearly all of December without winning. Started the season 2-1 and lost 28 straight games. And the following year, the Pistons were in the playoffs as a 6th seed. And I'm not going to say should have beat the Knicks, but they gave the Knicks quite a challenge that you could see it building. And now this year they're 28-10. In many ways, it kind of reminds you of what we saw in the 2017-18 season with the Bucks into the following year, where you went back-to-back years of making the playoffs but losing in the first round. And each of the series were competitive. You had the Raptors game in the 2016-17 season, so the 2017 playoffs, Raptors series that you lost in 6 games. But remember, Game 6 was that game that the Bucks were down, 21, I want to say, and they erased the margin. They came back to tie it in an elimination game and still ultimately lost. The following year, you were a 500 team, essentially. A lot of start and stops, a lot of inconsistency, but you caught the Celtics in the first round. And that was the series where Boston was injured. There was no Kyrie Irving. You should have won that series. You went to 7 games where the home team won each of the games in the series. So you lose Game 7 in Boston. And you just felt like, okay, disappointing. You still haven't gotten out of the first round in going on 20 years. But it does feel like we're building something here now that I remember, you hire Bud in that offseason, and you go into the upcoming season, the 2018-19 season. And I remember the expectations and the hope was, okay, they've made the playoffs the last 2 years, but look at where they did it. Like, can they be a home court advantage team? Can you get a top 4 seed? Was what everybody was hoping for. And lo and behold, the Bucks start the season 7-0 and just run roughshod through the Eastern Conference, win 60 games, and are the 1 seed. That jump feels like what we're seeing from the Pistons, to go from, okay, there was something slowly building here and some nice moments, very competitive in the playoffs, didn't go our way. The expectation, and talking to Pistons fans and people around the organization in the summer, too, when we would talk about our respective teams and, like, which of these two do you think is going to finish higher in the standings? They may not admit it now, but I think just about everyone I talked to conceded, probably you guys, because you have Giannis, but I think we're a frisky team. It was a lot of the same mindset you had here in Milwaukee, just because we didn't know any better, right, with Bud. So they're clearly building something nice there. And I think that's the frustrating part with this Bucks group, is not only the struggles in terms of your record, but just how much everything has changed overnight. I mean, the chemistry that Bob and Dick has talked about it too, but the chemistry with this group, of course, it's not going to be what it was, and it's going to continue to change the more overturn that there is with your roster. But the identity of this group that you really had from 2018 all the way through the 23 season, right? You had this strong identity, and that's gone, and you've been searching for it for the last 3 seasons, basically. 855-616-1620, the Siding Unlimited talk and text line to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. Disappointing, to say the least, a 33-point home loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves without Anthony Edwards, without Rudy Gobert. More after this on Bucks Talk.
The Hardwood Homilies continue after this. This is Bucks Talk.
You know, Dad, we can't ever change.
Amen to that, son. And I'll tell you what, we'd have a lot of people to answer to if we did.
The fact that things have remained the same at Marty's going back all the way to 1957 is what makes it so special.
And it starts with a recipe for our sauce. It's the original, the same one that Marty taught me. It was there on day one, and it's still here today.
And it's never going away.
James, you stick with that attitude, and Marty's will be around for your kids to keep up their tradition.
And there are other things that make Marty's Pizza special.
Well, you got our untouched original recipe for our pizza sauce, and we have our own sausage made for us with our own recipe. We make everything fresh. Our own meatballs, our lasagna, our dough every day. We cut our vegetables fresh every day.
It's a labor of love.
This is Dick the Dad.
And James the Son from Marty's Pizza in Delafield.
Find out what keeps our loyal customers coming back for generations.
Right off I-94 and Highway 83 in Delafield.
Hi, this is John Neal, CPA, best-selling author and founder of the Neal Group. Well, here we are. It's 2026. Remember last year when you said never again? Did it work? You didn't start your business to spend so much time doing bank reconciliations, cash flow projections, or inventory analysis. Let us help you keep your New Year resolution to stay on top of your finances and keep your books up to date. Don't do the same thing this year and expect different results. Start the year off on the right foot by calling the Neal Group to help you understand your numbers and make them better. You earned it. We help you keep it. Call 414-325-2040 now to set up a meeting to see how you can make 2026 the best year ever. The first meeting is free. That's 414-325-2040 or visit us at nealgroup.net. That's NEAL group.net.
Close your eyes and picture Europe by water, sunlit ports, ancient cities, and effortless elegance. With Viking Cruises and Foxroll Travel, the Mediterranean becomes your front porch. No crowds, no casinos, just culture, cuisine, and curated experiences designed for curious travelers. From Italy to Greece, every detail is handled, so all you do is savor the journey. Ready to sail Europe the refined way? Call 866-GO-FOX-GO or visit foxrolltravel.com to book today.
This is Bucks Talk.
.139 to 106, our final tonight here inside a Fiserv Forum. All Minnesota Timberwolves. They dominate this one from start to finish. So the Bucks are, I don't know if you would say at a crossroads, but you're 17-23 on the season. Thursday night is the midpoint. After your game in San Antonio against the Spurs, we will be 41 games into the season and halfway through it. It is going to be a very interesting couple of weeks here with the trade deadline looming on February 5th with a lot of murmurs, not just with the Bucks, but a handful of teams on a number of the same names that we've continued to hear here, like a John Morant and a Zach LaVine. But the bigger question is, what is the solve for this team? What is the ceiling, too, right? Depending on what you do, and can you optimize this roster in just one trade deadline? But what is the ceiling with this group? And is that ceiling, is that perceived ceiling where it needs to be for you to say, yeah, we can live with trading away a draft pick, or yeah, it this is better than us rolling the dice and seeing what happens in this pick swap and seeing if both us and the Pelicans finish down there in the standings and have really good draft picks. Well, the Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks here and a very telling couple of weeks. But it's going to be an important week in the short term for this Bucks team because of the teams that you have on your schedule and because of how you have consistently played this season, that by the time we get through next week, if things don't turn around immediately, that answer may be decided for you. So we'll get into the upcoming schedule and take a peek ahead to Thursday night in San Antonio against the Spurs after this on Bucks Talk.
This is Bucks Talk.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes, allergies, cancer. Nothing will keep the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network from pushing Wisconsin ahead. We're constantly raising the bar for medical excellence and providing more ways to receive it, so you have it for all your health needs, big and small. Let's push ahead, and we'll make life here as great as it can be. Visit Freighter.com to find out how.
A buck in today's world doesn't go far unless you're spending it at Griffin. Because for just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. Buy one or a whole set. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand. We'll put you in new tires for just $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. That's right, $1 over cost, and we'll even show you the invoice to prove it. So what's the catch? There's really no catch. You don't have to buy a car or a truck from us. We'd like it if you did, but our only requirement is we put them on for you. Buy one, two, or a set of four. The $1 deal at Griffin. Available at Griffin Chrysler Jeep South 27th Street and Griffin Ford Waukesha. The $1 deal at Griffin. Make your dollar go further. Griffin, the buck stops here, but the deals on tires don't. $1 over cost. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with other tire offers.
MW Marine.
The 6th annual Hales Corners Hometown Boat Show is on now at MW Marine. Check out the newest fishing boats from Lund, Vexus, and Ranger, all powered by Mercury Outboards. Grab a gorgeous 2026 model or save big on remaining 2025 Mercury-powered boats with substantial rebates. Demand is high, so get to MW Marine today. Free parking and free admission. Don't miss the Hometown Boat Show at MW Marine, MWMarine.com.
Prizes, flyaways, even cash money. You want it? We've got it. Find a list of all contests and official rules by visiting WTMJ.com/contests.
That's WTMJ.com/contests.
Start the new year off on a healthier note by taking active liver supplements from New Nordic every day. Available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com or at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meijer Grocery, or Wegmans.
Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
Well, a extremely disappointing night inside the arena comes to an end tonight. 139-106 final. Timberwolves dominate the Bucks from start to finish. And now you look at the schedule that awaits this Bucks team. We've noted several times you get the San Antonio Spurs on the road on Thursday. That is game number 41. At best, you are going to be 18-23 midway through the season. I think worst case scenario, if we would have told you 18-23 is the Bucks' record halfway through the season, you would have assumed, well, Giannis has missed a lot of games. And to be fair, Giannis has missed a decent chunk of games, but not the level that you would assume would be necessary for an 18-23 season. I think a lot of us thought, yeah, they're probably going to be 23-18, 24-17, maybe even better than that, the inverse of what this record is going to be. And why I mentioned this next week or so, this may well decide your fate for you, because you go to San Antonio on Thursday, and then you get 3 days off. So there is no rest schedule excuse there. You go to Atlanta next Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, to take on the Hawks. First time seeing Atlanta this season. Atlanta's playing much better now. Now they're currently losing to the Lakers by double digits. So it looks like their win streak is going to be snapped, and they will not reach 500. But they're still 2 games clear of you. That's an important game for the Bucks, to put it mildly. A team that's in front of you in the standings, a team that's directly in front of you in the standings, those are the teams you're going to have to beat because it counts as 2 and because it helps the tiebreaker. But you're going to have to take care of business against the Hawks, the Bulls, the Miami Heat. If you can win that game, then, all right, now we're talking here. But the rest of the schedule, outside of San Antonio and Atlanta, you come home for 3 straight games after that. But it's the Oklahoma City Thunder next Wednesday, the Denver Nuggets next Friday, and the Dallas Mavericks next Sunday. There is no team you can look past at this point if you're the Bucks. The Mavs are below 500, yeah. Cooper Flagg has continued to ascend and play incredibly well in these past couple of weeks. There's no gimme games, as we have learned. After that, those 3 home games. On the road in Philadelphia against the Sixers. On the road in D.C. against the Wizards. And again, that is a team that has beaten you twice already. And then on the road in Boston against the Celtics before wrapping up your pre-All-Star break schedule with the Bulls, Pelicans, and Pacers at home. And then road games in Orlando against the Magic twice and in Oklahoma City against the Thunder. There's not much let up between now and the All-Star break. So if you don't start to piece together these stretches, and Doc Rivers kind of joked about it, this team is still yet to have a win streak this season. Think about that. We are approaching 3 full months of the season, and they haven't won more than 2 consecutive games. And each time they've done that, they've done it 4 times that they've had 2 straight wins. 3 of the 4 instances have included either the Charlotte Hornets or Washington Wizards. So if you can't at least say, okay, we're just going to win 2 out of every 3 games consistently and do that go forward, it's going to get very late, very early here. And that's why we say maybe the decision is going to start to be made for you. Thursday night, Bucks in San Antonio to take on the Spurs. We hope for much better things then. It's the Spurs, Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs. 7 o'clock tip time. 6:30 is when the pregame coverage begins. And as always, be sure to stick around after the game for Bucks Talk. We'll talk with you once again on Thursday night.
Start the new year right with Norwalk Furniture on sale now at Ken Michaels Furniture. Save